Hi, Kevin here, and I want to show you how to use the Ned device because it's as simple as riding a bike. But just like riding a bike, how it's super important that you buy the right size bike, you adjust the seat to your right level, and like a bike, it might take a couple days to get your balance to learn how to ride it. And if you ride it for a few days in a row, your legs might be sore. A lot of these exact same things apply to the Ned device. And so real quick, I want to show you how the Ned device works, and then how you can tailor it to you and find the most success right away. So let's just go through what Ned is first. Ned stands for nasal EPAP dilator. Now, nasal, the N in Ned, just means these cones go in your nose, right? You can put them in this way, you can put them in this way. Either way, just fine. Now, the E stands for EPAP, which actually stands for expiratory positive air pressure. And what that means is when you breathe out, there's a little bit of back resistance, and it's that back resistance that keeps your airway nice and open, that stops the snoring. Okay, so a good way to understand that is it's just like breathing through a straw. If you take a deep breath in and you blow through the straw, what does it do? It causes me to have a long, slow exhalation. It kept my cheeks nice and puffy. This very similar concept is how your airway works when you breathe out your nose. So what Ned does is when you breathe out your nose, you breathe against a little bit of back pressure. So if you feel that little bit of back pressure, that's a good thing. That's the Ned working just like it's supposed to. So that's the expiratory positive air pressure. The third thing is the D, the dilator. So when you put Ned in your nose, what it does is it dilates your nose. It pushes the nostrils out, it opens them up, it makes it easier to breathe in your nose. It gets rid of any constrictions. So Ned has this dual function. One is makes it easier to breathe in. The second thing is when you breathe out your nose, it actually restricts it a little bit. And just like breathing out that straw, you get this long, slow, deep exhalation. And that's what keeps the airway patent. So that's the fundamental of how Ned works. Now, I want to show you some of the things that you can tailor Ned to make it your first night easier and kind of like learning how to ride your bike, make this the most successful thing possible. So if you turn Ned over, you'll see it has a cover. Now you can take this cover off, and underneath this cover is the valve, okay? When you breathe in, the valve opens, and when you breathe out, the valve closes, and the valve has a little hole in it, and that's the hole that's gonna slow your exhalation out, exhalation out your nose, just like the straw, okay? So what we have is we have a couple size valves, and you can have no valve. So I want to give a couple situations here. Let's say you're going to bed with the Ned device and you're breathing against too much exhalation pressure. It feels like you can't breathe out enough. It might be just fine, and it might just be something you have to get used to. But just like training wheels, a good way to get started is just take the valve out. Just wear this as a dilator the first few nights. And then what you can do is try the valve. And there's two different valves. One has a smaller hole, one has a bigger hole. The one with the bigger hole is gonna be less back pressure. It'll be for more light snoring, and the one with the smaller hole will be for more heavy snoring. But you can change the valves out both to make it, help with the training wheel process, but also to gauge to your level of snoring. So if you're a real heavy snorer, you're probably gonna wanna use the smaller hole in the long run, but you might wanna use the bigger hole to get started, if that makes sense, okay? So all you do is if you wanna use it without the valve, you just put it in your nose, right? Done. Now when you're switching out the valves, you just put the valves, and the valve can go either way. You can experiment with both ways too. But it's designed to go either way. You put that middle right in the middle, and then you put the valve cover back on it. And the valve cover, it's gonna take you one or two tries to get the hang of it, but it just goes around the edges, and I'm gonna try and get this on the camera, but it's gonna be probably hard to see a little bit. You just get that around the edge, and then you get the other one around the edge, and then your device is ready for use, okay? Okay, and so what we have here, it's kind of like a sandwich. You have the valve cover, you have the valve underneath the cover, in between the body and the valve cover, right? Okay, and once you have that sandwich all set up, you just put it in your nose and you go to sleep, okay? So one nostril, the other nostril, and what I like to do as far as size, like this goes back to buying the right size bike. I like to have my nose, if I look in the mirror, that my nose is dilated out, okay? If you put something in and you really can't even tell that there's a device in there, it's probably too small. So when it comes to getting the right size device, it's very important. And there's a couple things about getting the right size device. One is, if you get one that's too small, it might be more comfortable in the short term, but in the long term, it's not helping you breathe in as well as it could. And if it's too small, it might fall out. And regarding falling out, personally, I don't like to have this head strap. But if you're an active sleeper, or you're turning on your side a little bit, or you're finding that the device is falling out a little bit, we have a strap you can put on it, which is going to hold the device in place. Okay, so what have we covered? We have covered getting used to the device. As far as getting used to it, you can use it as just the dilator without the valve. You can put on a valve with a slightly larger hole to make it easier to use, or if you just have light snoring, that might be the best valve for you all the time. If you're more of a heavy snorer, use the smaller hole, the valve with the smaller hole, which is going to give you more back pressure. It's going to keep that airway nice and open. And just like riding a bike, how your legs can be sore after a couple days of riding a bike all day long, your nose can be sore for a couple days. These things get, just like the soreness will go away when you ride a bike, soreness in the nose tends to dissipate after a day or two. For most people, they don't even have any soreness, but if you do have some, it's not uncommon, so don't let that worry you. If the device is falling out, there's two things. One is you might have too small of a device. You might be an active sleeper and you might need to wear the head strap, or you just need to get used to it. So when we put something in our nose for the first time we go to sleep, it's a little bit awkward, and we'll have a tendency to wiggle our nose to try and get it out, or sometimes we unconsciously take it out in the middle of the night, and sometimes it's just a matter of time getting used to it. But these are the two biggest things: the back pressure and keeping it in the nose. The back pressure, you can scale up to finding your right amount of pressure and just really getting used to wearing the device. And if it's falling out, you just got to get the right size. You might need a head strap, or really more often than not, it's just getting used to wearing it for a week or two, and then you're all set. So I hope this gets you all set for your first night with the Ned device. I look forward to hearing how you're doing. I think you're going to love it. So thanks for watching this, and good night.